Well, this is going to be an interesting one to talk about because realistically, I've got to talk about two separate matches here. I've got to talk about the match from the first minute to the 65th minute, and then I've got to talk about the match from the 70th minute, because that's how long it took to send Casemiro off, until the end of the game. So, if you're interested in my thoughts about the red card and the overall final result, then by all means skip ahead to a later part in the video. I'll even put a notation in the chapters to let you know where I start talking about the Casemiro incident. But first off, I need to talk about the performance before that incident, because today I was really, really impressed. I don't think there was a single player in the starting lineup that had a worse than 7 out of 10 performance, most getting 8s or even 9s out of 10s for those first 65 minutes. We, of course, get the early goal through a penalty. Not really debatable in my opinion. I know it was close proximity, and that was Crystal Palace's argument, but the player's gone like that. You're never going to get away with that. You should, as a professional footballer, you should be willing to take a ball to the face as far as I'm concerned. So if you're turning your back on Rashford and throwing your hands in the air to block a cross, then quite frankly, I think you deserve to give away a penalty. And Bruno doing what Bruno does best, according to the general population, which is, of course, scoring penalties. But his all-round play, again, I thought was fantastic from him. My actual man of the match, or should I say man of the pre-red card match, was Fred. And I know I've had my grievances about Fred in the past, but I thought everything he did today was absolutely superb. I would love to see how much distance he covered, because I think he probably ran more than anyone else on the pitch today. He seemed absolutely everywhere. His ball winning, which we all know about, was as good as ever. But I was actually a lot more impressed with his on the ball and his attacking mindset today. We very much played a 4-1-4-1 or a 4-3-3 in the style of Liverpool and Man City, if you want to look at it like that, where when we had the ball, Casemiro was the solo man sitting and Fred was playing alongside Bruno Fernandes in the midfield. And I really was impressed with how Fred performed. His movement, getting into little pockets of space, dropping off the Crystal Palace midfielders, getting on the ball, playing passes into Weghorst, into Bruno, into Rashford. I just really, really impressed with him today. And the other thing I thought he did really well, and this is the benefit of playing more left-footed players on the pitch, is that occasionally Shaw would drift into midfield as he was following the man that he was marking, and Fred would then move out to left back and cover him at left back for a good 30 seconds or even a minute at times, and just play around with it. I don't want to throw the phrase total football around because we're nowhere near that sort of level, but I thought there was a lot more balance to the team today. There was a lot more rotation. You saw Anthony on the left at times, Bruno on the right, Rashford down the middle, Weghorst dropping into midfield. I was relatively impressed with Weghorst today compared to how he performed against Crystal Palace a couple of weeks ago. Obviously ended up going off, which at the time looked like the correct decision because it then allowed Rashford to move further forward. But all round, their attacking style of play, I don't think Crystal Palace put too much pressure on us. I'm not going to try and shirk away from that. I don't think Crystal Palace, until the 65th minute, played particularly well. But our on the ball, our controlling of the game, controlling of the midfield, was certainly a lot better than it has been in recent times. And I really think Fred was a big part of that today, which is why he was my man of the match. Then, of course, we have to talk about the second goal, which, in my opinion, is arguably our best goal of the season so far. So many players involved. It's the sort of goal where if Arsene Wenger's Arsenal would have scored it, or Man City or Pep Guardiola's Barcelona would have scored it, you'd be talking about it for the next 5 or 6 years. The amount of players doing little touches in and around. Like I say, the rotation, Garnacho picking the ball up at centre forward, playing it out wide, shifting it out to the right, all the way back across into the middle, out to Shaw, ball into the middle. Brilliant finish from Rashford in the striker's position, which is something I've been critical of him in the past. But for the second time in about 3 weeks, you can remember the goal against Manchester City, getting in that killer area and putting the ball in the back of the net. An absolutely fantastic goal, which should have seen the game end at a minimum of 2-0 to Manchester United. Now, that goal was in the 63rd minute. And in the 65th minute of the game, and the reason I specify 65th minute and not 67th minute when the incident occurred is because I think the actual moment of madness and the moment of stupidity came from Anthony in the 65th minute. Because we score our goal, Crystal Palace kick off, play goes on for, 30 seconds or so. Manchester United win the ball back and they play the ball out to Anthony. Now, at this point, we're obviously 2-0 up. We're full of confidence. We've just scored an amazing goal. And Anthony thinks, oh, it's my moment to shine. And He doesn't do the fidget spinner today. He goes one step further and tries to rainbow flick Jeffrey Schlupp. Now, that, in my opinion, was the moment of madness, because that's a severe level of disrespect, and obviously he's allowed to be entertaining, but that was the spark that inevitably ended up with Casemiro getting sent off. Because if Anthony doesn't try to rainbow flick Schlupp, the Crystal Palace players don't get on his back, they don't get wound up, because that's what happens from the resulting throw-in. Anthony gets the ball again, and Schlupp absolutely flattens him down the Old Trafford drainage system into the wall. He then goes one step further by stepping over Anthony and saying something to him, which quite clearly rattled him, and then the chaos ensued. Now, for the red card itself, I personally think it is very subjective. I can understand why people think Casemiro should have been sent off, but probably with my bias hat on, I'm not going to try and say that I'm not being biased here. I don't think Casemiro should have been sent off. I just think Will Hughes is a little bit short compared to Casemiro. Because if you actually look at the incident, Casemiro comes over and he pushes him. And you'll know yourself, whenever you push something, you push from about shoulder height. And Casemiro has pushed at Will Hughes, but it just so happens that due to how short Will Hughes is, where Casemiro puts his hands forward, that's where Will Hughes' neck is. And Casemiro's hands are only round Will Hughes' neck for about 1 second at most. So that's literally from there until there. That's how long his hands were around his throat. Because I just think he's pushed, and there's been literally nowhere else to go other than round. He's then immediately pulled his hands away, there's a little nudge on the head, and Casemiro backs off. The problem is, the VAR look at this incident in like 0.1 speed, times speed. So it's literally a 1 second incident turns into a 10-second incident, where when you slow it down that much, it looks like Casemiro's got his hands round his throat and he's trying to strangle the life out of him. So I can understand why the referee sent him off. If you'd have only showed me that clip at that super slow-mo, and if you'd have only shown me the still that I would have used for the thumbnail, then sure, Casemiro probably would have been sent off from looking at that. But I think the fact that they've not shown the referee the incident at full speed is a mistake on VAR's part. I would be appealing, if I was Manchester United, to that decision for him to get sent off, for no other reason that we desperately need him. He is a massive part of everything good that we do defensively. So I don't think he should be suspended, and obviously it'll be a minimum of a 3-match ban for a violent conduct incident, which is massive considering we do have a lot of games coming up. So I don't want to lose Casemiro for any of those games, and we need to start getting wins. But like I say, I can understand why he should have been sent off, but for me, he shouldn't have been sent off. Let me know down in the comments your own thoughts. I don't know if you would have seen the incident yet, but if you have, let me know now. If not, watch it later and feel free to come back to this video and let me know your thoughts, because I do think it is a very subjective decision, and I can understand why people think he should have been sent off. But for me, no red card. From there, the second game, shall we say, then started, where Crystal Palace have the momentum, they have the drive, they have the energy, they have the extra man on the pitch, and they start pinning us back. And the goal comes from, shock horror, yet another corner. The first corner comes in. For whatever reason, there is no marking at all, and there is a free header about 7 yards out where De Gea makes a really good save. I'm not going to criticise him for not coming for that cross. I think it was far enough away from the goal to say De Gea shouldn't be coming out for that, but clearly no messages have been given out to the players about who should be marking who, with us now going down to 10 men. So that was a free header that then got turned away for another corner. That corner then comes back in, poorly dealt with, ball back in, and Schlupp scores with De Gea a little bit in no man's land. But again, it was all a bit ricochet, flying around. I'm not going to moan about De Gea for the goal. From that point on, it then just became a defensive slog, and I think we performed really, really well. I think Marcel Sabitzer made a good impact on his debut, coming on as an additional enforcer to Fred. I've not really seen Sabitzer play, so to see that he's that aggressive in the tackle and that sharp at winning the ball back, he basically looked like another Fred today. Like I said, Fred was man of the match. When Sabitzer came on, he played like Fred had played for the start of the game, winning the ball back, quick passes, looked like a really decent pickup, certainly for that situation. So it'll be interesting to see if and how we use him against Leeds, because I imagine he could start instead of Casemiro. And then finally, I feel like I need to touch on the substitutions that he made at the end, because there was a lot of confusion around the substitutions about bringing Maguire and Lindelof on at the end. But I actually thought they were smart decisions. We were never realistically going to get a goal on the counter-attack when we've only got 10 men. I know Rashford was still a threat on the break, and we left him as far up as it was probably allowed to do so. But we spoke about Wan-Bissaka and crosses into the box. He's not very good at dealing with them. So the decision to put Lindelof on for Wan-Bissaka I thought was a really smart one, because it just helped nullify that threat of balls into the back post, and Lindelof handled them very well. Obviously, Maguire coming on to deal with Mateta coming on. Also, I think a fair decision considering we knew an aerial bombardment was coming. It's just a shame for young Alejandro Garnacho that sadly he had to make way, and hopefully it doesn't affect any of his contract negotiations that are currently going on, in the fact that he was brought on and then subsequently brought off due to all of the instances that happened in between. But at the end of the day, it's another 3 points on a day where Arsenal have dropped all 3 points against Everton. So who knows? Maybe there is still a title chance on. Most importantly, though, of course, we've got the 3 wins to help us get towards Champions League football, and against a team that we normally struggle against, especially when we're at home, to pick up 3 points against Crystal Palace is a very good result. And we've shown a level of resilience again today that I feel in recent years we wouldn't have done so. And obviously we failed against Crystal Palace and then against Arsenal to show resistance in the last couple of weeks. So to actually see us come through a game where we needed to show resistance is a big positive. So 3 points onto the second game, which is of course Leeds at home, where I would thoroughly expect us to get the win once again. As always, let me know your thoughts on the game and any other things you wish to discuss. Drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe if you are new around here. And I'll see you very, very soon.